Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name's Kit, and this is my world. Thank you very much for joining me. In this episode, I'm going to be doing another tag. I know, surprise, surprise. This time it's a little literary tag by Mark at Book Time with Elvis, and I stole it from Sina at Beating Around the Books. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. Question number 1. Tolkien once said that cellar door is the most beautiful expression in English. What do you think is the most beautiful word or phrase in English or any language? I love you. Yeah, I love you. I know it's kind of obvious, very, very obvious, and not very interesting or amusing, but it's the 3 words that are on my mind very much a lot of the time. So I can't think of anything other than those 3 words. Question number 2. What words in English do you find most amusing? Well, as I was watching Sina do this tag and playing along myself, I was very irritated by the fact that she kept coming up with more and more words, and every single word she came up with was one that I'd just thought of, with the result that I'm now going to have to dig very deep to come up with anything. But I have a cunning plan. I'm going to make my words industry specific, and that way there's a possibility that other people won't think of them. So the first one is sitzprobe, and although this is from a German word, which is kind of amusing because of the Sina connection, she's German, it's a word that is commonly used in British theatrical tradition. A sitzprobe is basically in a musical or opera where the cast, who have been typically rehearsing with a piano accompaniment, and the orchestra, who have been rehearsing separately, get together for the first time, and it's just to rehearse the combination of the singing human beings and the musical instrument playing musicians coming together and doing it all in one go as one big thing. So there's no jumping around or other dialogue or any activity. The actors just sit or stand by mics and the orchestra plays, and that's the sitzprobe, and it's a very exciting experience for people who have only been hearing the music played by a single piano to suddenly hear the full orchestration. It's a beautiful moment. I love sitzprobes. Flabberdigaz. Flabberdigaz means a flubbed line, essentially, but it's quite a fun word. Flabberdigaz. Cyclorama. The cyclorama is the back cloth, essentially, but more specifically, it's a clear, plain back cloth, so it doesn't have any painted scene on it, doesn't have a New York skyline or anything like that. It's just a white cloth that spans the entire width of the stage, often curving round, so that it doesn't have any corners or edges, and then different coloured lights can be shone on this to create different moods and atmospheres, sunsets and all of that sort of thing. So that's a cyclorama, and in film and television this has been developed and evolved to be a translight, and a translight does typically have a scene on it, often a city skyline, and it's illuminated. It actually has, and also it can work like a video wall or something. I mean, it can have things moving across it as well, but typically it's got buildings with lights that can switch on and off in any configuration, and it's much more realistic. So that's a translight. Question number 3. Have you memorised any poems in full to whip out now and then to impress your friends? If so, which ones? Well, again, I'm from theatre, so I've got a brain full of all that type of stuff. Do you know what? I will do one for you. This is from a play called In the Doghouse, which, to the best of my knowledge, was last performed in 1989, I think. I worked on it in 1989, and I can still remember every single word of the entire show, because that's how my memory works. So I'll give you the prologue. We live in times of change and flux. Some think it's great, some think it sucks. But it's not for me to tell you which, why some are poor and some are rich, why some sleep soft and some sleep rough and some have barely half enough. That's not the reason I was sent. This play's no social document. We're merely here to please. A song, a dance, a touch of sleaze, a bit of plot, a lot of bother, disguises and a weeping mother. The usual stuff, you get the picture, the easy, emptied, lurid mixture, as before. You take nightly, hold your nose. Mind you, I've been in much worse shows, believe you me. I remember one Christmas, or was it late September? Anyway, it was bloody freezing, we all caught flu, and I was sneezing. The scripts weren't ready, nor the props. And one thing I've got is a nose for flops. But I have to tell you from the start, this play's a hit, hand on my heart. It's a lovely cast, we're real good mates. No one slacks or hesitates to give advice, a helping hand, a boot, a fist, wherever it may land. So, gentles all, please make my day. Admit me prologue to this play. Question number 4. Who or what do you consider to be an underrated and underappreciated author or book? Quick answer, Catherine Kerr, the entire Devery series. I still consider the Devery series to be some of the best fantasy ever written, and Catherine Kerr to be one of the best writers in that genre. And those books have been criminally overlooked over the years, and she's never had the success that I feel she deserves, and those books aren't as huge as they deserve to be. Question number 5. Which book do you consider to have the best or most memorable beginning? Well, there are two. The first one goes, there was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrubb, and he almost deserved it. That's the opening of Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is my favourite of the Narnia Chronicles. And there's another one, I Come from Des Moines. Someone had to. And that's the hilarious opening for The Lost Continent by Bill Bryson. Question number 6. Which book title best describes your life? A Time of Exile by Catherine Kerr. Question number 7. What was the last book you read that led to a moistening of the eyes? Mistress of the Empire always makes me cry. It's good crying, though. I'm moved by the happiness of the ending. And each of the 3 books in the trilogy has a happy ending, and they get happier as you go along. So I do a lot of crying at those books, but it's very happy crying. The opposite version, I'm going to say the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. Those books made me experience actual genuine grief, and it was not pleasant. I was destroyed by those books, and at the time I visited an online, what would I think, a chat room. I visited a chat room for Robin Hobb, and everyone was saying the same thing. They were all destroyed by this. There's one particular event that happened, but also several events of a slightly lesser magnitude scattered throughout the books. But yeah, that was crying in a bad way. It was not enjoyable. But Mistress of the Empire, the third of the Empire trilogy, is really good crying. Question number 8. When it is time to shuffle off this mortal coil and go to that big library in the sky, what bookish or literary quote would you like engraved on your headstone? Don't get me started. I'm quoting myself. I think what's going on my headstone has to be a quote from me. I wouldn't want to plagiarise someone else's work in that final thing. So I'm going to quote myself there. Don't get me started is something I've kind of had as a catchphrase, an unintentional catchphrase, for a large portion of my life, because I have a tendency to babble, and if you say something or ask something that elicits a babbly response, or a huge emotional ranty response, I'm a bit of a ranter, then I might catch myself mid-rant and say, don't get me started. It's kind of my way, my shorthand of just saying my answer to this is going to be ranty, so you'd better watch out. And I think it would be appropriate for that to go on my headstone. Question number 9. If you wrote a book and didn't want to use your own name, what name would you choose as a suitable pen name? Jonathan K. Elliott. Question number 10. Many literary characters have sidekicks / henchmen. Who would you choose to be your companion on your life adventures? My cats. All of my cats, all of my babies. And now my better half, the man I love. All of them. Him and my cats. Forever and ever. And on that note, before I start crying, I think I'll call it a day. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you haven't already, you know what to do. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share, comment, do all the good stuff, and I will see you next time. See you later.